Testing, testing, testing. Well, you can see here at Wickerson Studios late on a Friday night, I am generating these strange igloo forms from a C script that I'm learning from Lon Nguyen. Pretty amazing, simple scripts that are allowing me to work some very fast geometries and generate. I'll start it over again and just set it to true. You can see it has a wonderful way of generating and running out in different positions. So what it is a if building a script, run script on a Boolean of I reset, vector 3D, and I velocity. Anywhere there's an I, he likes to use it as script the sense of an input, and an output, he likes to put I output. But right now I've kept the outputs fairly simple as A and X, and actually I don't even think I need X at this current point. But that'll reset the script. You can see this have this red igloo type formation, kind of colonization happening on a timer. Very exciting stuff. Uh, the script itself comes from kind of playing off of more simple things to begin with, but a tool that I can reset and begin again and again and again, play with the XY components. As long as they're fairly even, it'll stay centered. Otherwise, it will meander and wander. It will come back to center. And of course, the igloos get bigger and bigger the farther it gets out of center because I've tied that in to the radius of the mesh when I'm done. And I've got a dividing factor that I can either change these and make them drastically big, or I can make them small. What's nice is you can play with that slider and go right back into your original script and have an effect on it. Pretty wonderful use of Grasshopper uh, in cahoots with basically dealing in simple point and vectors and generating kind of a wandering path, a walker in itself. And look at the speed of the script. I mean, that's what's amazing about it. 30 milliseconds, creating a list and just generating a very cool geometry. When you're said and done, it'd be nice to be able to stop it, but stopping it, of course, it disappears. So if you're generating, it might be interesting to see how I can go in here and just pull a bake. Won't work probably while I'm in turntable, but let me jump out of here and see if I can't just, yeah, there you go. I think I grabbed a bake and stopped the script while that happened. So no, it's still creating, but let me see if I can grab a bake while that's running. And there we go. I can. I can group that bake and like pull out a form there, and grab that one up and say, okay, here's my colony after 6-7 months. Kind of this weird kind of bulbous form. So let's go back into it, and it's still generating another script. But I could take a walker on another level and hit true and see where this one's going to wander off to. Pretty interesting. It's kind of hard to see in the render mode, but it is generating and wandering around. Uh, Maybe I'll take it back into shaded so I'm going to see what's actually being generated. Very interesting. And you like that other geometry that's happening there, so grab a bake, we could pull it into a group, and there we go. We have another bake that we pull off as another generation. Reset it again. Very fast, incredible scripts in C. I'm just loving it, and I'm sure Python can go fairly fast as well. But as this kind of meanders and wanders, it's interesting to play off of a few different types of looking at it. Get an artistic perspective. What I like about the render is that because it's ghosted in a grasshopper form, let me make sure I pick rendered, you're going to lose half your form under the kind of sea level, if that's what you call it, under your plane. And really nice kind of awkward ways of generating forms and playing off of this. It is creative. It's incredibly interesting to play with. Let me grab that one, slide that one off as the script is still being generated, and go back in and run it again. So using learning scripts as I go, and you have this interesting plane off the base, and of course the base is following the lowest form, so you can see those hovering like little villages and towns that are there. And at this point you can put it in a render and have fun. But what a way to generate some interesting geometries and cloud forms and such, and using a simple tool as a deconstructing the vector. And of course I could use Y, and that would be similar because I'm kind of wandering off and meandering. What's nice is as you control this, and I'll grab all these geometries, I mean, it's just infinite. It really is. It's really quite amazing. So as I go into producing this again, if I want to start to have control over pulling it off in a Y direction, it's kind of steering it like an automobile, and pull it out here, you can see it's really like, okay, I guess I'm headed in the Y direction, no problem. If you wanted to head in the X direction, then pull that higher. You'll pull it back in that direction. You kind of steer this anamorphic form. And of course, it's getting fairly large, huge now. It might wander back. Let's pull it back in the Y, see what it ends up happening. Put it back into shaded to see what's really being generated. You can play off of it in the Z as well if you want to control it and throw it up. Pretty interesting. I'm going to start it over and see what happens there. And there we go. We start to have a Z, three-dimensional generation of what's happening. Yeah, the speed of this and the sense of creating new through scripting in C is something that's going to teach me how to think about what I have to do in Python, Ghpython nodes. Very excited about this, and once again, I want to give all credit to Lon Noon, which I'll pull over here. This kind of video tutorial that's happening here, part 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They're 2-3 hour videos, pretty incredible in 2018, and you're jumping in here and having an awful lot of fun. And so I'm just basically applying scripts that I'm learning the processing C, and I think I'm going to move on to another video series, which sounds very exciting afterwards to give me the basics. But I just love this, and working in meshes, of course, it goes a little faster. But I have to wonder to see if I couldn't just be using kind of spheres and seeing if that wouldn't slow it down too much. So let's just have a little game here and go into surfaces, grab this one and see if we have a real slowdown of radius, and we'll just take a little control shift to pull that in here and see how slow that script is. And there we go. It is slowing down quite a bit. But no, yeah, it's like, what are you doing to me, Wickerson? Very fun stuff. I hope my script's working. I think I fudged it out. Yeah, I think it causes a lot of stress because it's producing at such a high speed, and I have it set to 20 milliseconds, so I probably need, but it's 13 milliseconds a turn on that, which is still incredibly fast. And it's very hard to move around your files because it's running as you're going. But the difference between 19 milliseconds and 9 milliseconds doesn't seem that different at all. Let me at least, probably because I'm generating both at the same time, let me turn this off, see if I get lucky with that. Click off that toggle for a second so I can gain some control. Oh, it's just a little skippy. You know, you push what you're doing as much as you can, but it's still generating, and now I'm just trying to slide it in the GH code. So you get into the habit of this. Maybe I've hit it there. I'm not sure. Oh, come on. What an effort. It's asking me what I want to do. It actually thinks I want a slider, so I must have moved it out of the way. Yeah. A little bit of a problem there. I apologize. 7 minutes in. See if I can't just toggle this off. It would have been good to use a button as opposed to a toggle on and off and see if that works. But I am starting to have this weird, yeah, so it's off now. I can grab that. I've lost my radius here, and I lost my radius here, so that's causing problems. Actually, it was the division radius here that I wanted. So let's try that. Let's see the speed of that as I go back on and see how it generates. Yes, very fast, and that's the power that I was kind of looking for. So if you waited for that and tolerated my, it's going to slow down as it starts to get a little larger, I think. But it still is generating at a pretty fast rate. So I'm going to shut that down as true and probably go back to, obviously, a mesh sphere, which is a little easier. And if you want to simplify that sphere by bringing in the radius, bringing in the geometries, taking off that solid sphere, and even now you could simplify it even more by going into a low 3 count and get these kind of triangular forms. So you're still working in Grasshopper, playing off of these things, trusting on some scripts, and there we go. You have this strange little triangle form that's going to generate and become a little larger as I go. So exciting stuff. Really nice. I mean, I would never be in here, honestly, in Rhino working in an interface on that level. I'm trying to just keep this centered. Wonderful way to build some geometries and then just bake out as you go. Like say, well, that one's pretty solid. I'll take that bake and move that one up, and I'll continue to generate. What a nice little form and something to play with. So for those that want to get into computational studies and play around this, and it's still generating underneath it, and if you want to start a whole new world of generation, just click it back on and jump into it again, and maybe work within the shaded, because then you can see what you're populating and generating. Pretty incredible stuff. 9 minutes of play. Lon Nguyen's formulas of C, starting to understand them as maybe 12. The a dozen or 2 dozen lines of script, which is very similar to going into Grasshopper and trying to learn that by half a dozen to a dozen nodes. So taking that in script obviously is going to do things Grasshopper can't. And the same way he teaches is he moves slowly through his scripts, advancing one to the next to the next. So you're generating these tutorial scripts, which I'm calling random Wickerson Studios, because I'm playing with an altering those C nodes the same way he is. And whereas he might bring in a polyline, I'll bring in something solid. So this is the way you learn, or at least the way I learn. It's a kind of playful way of interfacing with what you're doing. And once again, I'm happy with that generated form. I'm going to pull off the points so I don't see them, and I'm just going to go in here, grab another bake, probably render it on a different layer. Yes, and actually I think I still have the layers on there, so I'll pull that one over and just drop it down. There's another world of forms, and reset it again on another color and see what's generated on the next random form. Now, if you're an abstract sculptor, this is definitely a way of going about to find some patterns and create some beautiful shapes, because you're simply a sense of randomness and chaos to actually end up creating these sculptures can be quite beautiful. So once again, once I see a pattern that I kind of like, I'll jump in here and I'll say, okay, that's I'm pretty cool with that. I'll take it to layers 3. I'll do a little group so I don't confuse it with the next one. And you can save it over to a certain layer if you have it as well. I'm just going to grab that and move it over here. It's playful. There's not a lot of meaning in a lot of this, but the real meaning is to gain hold of a basic understanding or fundamentals of Grasshopper and Rhino. And here I am generating another one. What a wonderful little script. And at this point, maybe I want to go in and I want to be like, okay, I want them to be more round. Maybe I want the spheres to be bigger, so I'll just convolute and change that. And here I am generating another monstrosity. And I don't know if I like what I did, but you can always play with it after. It's amazing that the whole script updates everything, and it's not like it just generates and then moves into another realm. The same thing, another, weird anamorphic. I guess I'll go into here. I'm actually working off of a student's template layered file, and thanks Evan for that, because I'm kind of having fun with that. I think let's grab a bake, do that again, or maybe add another layer. Let's do the glass. Oh, you're not going to see the glass because I actually just rendered in a interesting way, leaving this. I think you're going to find out what I did was fairly interesting. There is something there, and because it was baked in glass in the render, you've actually, well, at least I thought you'd have it. You'd have a shape in there. Anyway, nice little geometries, playful, whole worlds being constructed. Pretty fantastic when you sit and think about the possibilities of working this. Pen and ink drawings, generating these forms. I'm totally thrilled to be doing this stuff. And then when you're done producing from a scripted code that's through a script within C or within Ghpython, and then through the visual nodes of Grasshopper, you can jump in here in the Rhino and go back into all the CAD kind of finishing and things you wanted to play with. Incredibly powerful tool. As I go into rendering materials, maybe I'll just grab a metal for this one and set that one down as a set object. See how that one works, and then this one I'll go in and I'll set it to a glass object. Hopefully it'll come up. It's just getting a little mad at me. There we go. I pulled in a little glass. Then I'll grab this one and pull it over to a paint, which doesn't have a color yet, and I'll pull in something horribly blue or something like that, set the objects, and then just go down into the color and play off of this deep purple or something like that, or a deep black. And there you go. I think we've got it. A nice little rendering of these 3 different shapes. And when you get your little world all designed and made, close out your Grasshopper, close out your, actually, maybe I should be a little wise and save my file. Save my file right there. Close that one out and grab this one over. And then at this point, have a look at what you've made. Try and center it. Maybe move it up if it's a little too far. You want something landscape based. I mean, it's not much. It's very playful rendering. It doesn't have any significance or real meaning outside of learning, and then throw it into your ray traced, wait for it, and think about pulling it to an interesting render. And that's just the way they use a little bit of C#, anticipating a little bit of Ghpython, returning to that, processing Grasshopper. Obviously, there's a lot of meshes to render right now, so it's going to take a little bit of time. We're only at 1 out of 1,000, so this is probably going to take me, oh boy, I don't even know where I'm set. 300 dpi as good quality. That's going to take a long time to run. I probably won't end up rendering this out. There's some glass, there's some reflective steel, so yes, that's kind of a little overkill. Well, anyhow, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and keep following what I'm doing. Take care.